Hey there insiders, this is Pat Ogletree, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about one of my favorite rigging hooks, and that is the Owner Twistlock. What makes this hook so great is not only is it a quality hook, and you can use it in a variety of different lures like jerk shads and paddle tails and shrimp imitations. You can actually modify this lure to use it in a lot of different ways to change the presentation up a little bit. I'd like to show you some of those, but first I want to show you basically the original idea of how this weight was designed to be used, and this will cover 90% of how you're going to use this hook. So let's get into that first, and I want to show you just the basics of rigging before we go into these modifications. So here we go. This right here is a standard 3/0 1/8 ounce Owner Twistlock, and this is the Alabama Leprechaun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you from the beginning on how to rig this up. As you can see, this hook has got what they call a center pin in it. It's a locking mechanism that's got this pin that goes right into the head of the lure, and then you twist the lure onto this spring, and that's what locks that head into place to keep the head from sliding down on the hook shank. So you don't have that problem with this Owner Twistlock. Let me show you how to do that real quick. Make sure when you're inserting that pin, it goes right in the center of that soft plastic, and then stop it right when it bottoms out on the spring. Let's see if that'll focus in there. There you go. And then once that bottoms out, just take your lure and you twist the lure onto the head of the spring there. Make sure it goes all the way up until it pretty much bottoms out, but you want to make sure the bottom of the lure faces the hook point, so when you go to bury that hook, you don't have any problems with it twisting. So there we go right there. We got the bottom facing down, and then we got the hook in the right position. The lure is all the way up at the top of the eye of the hook. So this one's ready to have the hook placed inside the lure. Now this is the most crucial part of making sure that this rig is not going to twist or it's going to do anything weird. You want to make sure and lay the hook flat where it's just natural, where it's not bent up like this or where it's not pulled tight like that. Just where it naturally lays. Take your thumb and you place it right there at where the bottom of that hook is. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the hook and you're going to insert it in the bottom of the lure right where your thumb is. And then you're going to push it all the way through, making sure it goes out the middle of the back. The reason why you do that is you want to make sure that the hook is centered so this isn't twisting or does any type of weird motions when it goes through the water. If there's any type of bend in this lure, what's going to happen is this lure, as you twitch it, is going to start to twist, and it doesn't look natural going through the water. So make sure that that is right dead center of that, and make sure that this part is as straight as possible, and you'll be set. Now there's two different ways that you can keep that hook. Now this is what's called T-exposed, where the hook is actually exposed a little bit. This is really good. It actually has a better hookup ratio than if the hook is buried weedless. And if you're fishing an area that doesn't have a lot of grass or any types of structure that you can hang up on, this is actually the better way to do it. But if you're fishing around structure or grass, then what you want to do is you want to do a skin hook. That's where you'll take the lure, you'll push it up just a little bit, and then you'll bury that hook tip right in the surface. So as you can see, my finger glides right across that. And it's going to be fairly weedless, and you can fish this around structure all day long. But the most important thing is when you're all done, that this is as straight as possible, and there's no kinks or bends in it. As an outstanding lure. Now this is pretty much 90% of how you're going to use this lure. This will cover most of your grounds. What I'm going to show you here in a little bit is actually some advanced techniques that you can use to kind of custom tailor this a little bit. And let's move on to those. This will be this is what we call 101 Owner Twistlock. We're going to go into some more advanced stuff right here. So check this out. So as you see, I've got my pliers out, and what I'm going to do is we're going to take this weight, and this weight is just on here with a little bit of glue, and we're just going to twist that weight, kind of break it free of its glue, and then what we're going to do is we can take and move it up. Now when we move it up, we'll go ahead and pinch the ends of it down so it doesn't slide back down into place. Now as you can see, we moved it further up. When we move the weight further up, what it does is it changes the angle of the fall of this bait. So when the weight is pretty much centered on that hook, it's going to fall more of like this kind of descent, where it's be almost horizontal and it'll fall forward. Now the further forward we move that weight, it's going to act more like a jig head, and it's actually going to point the head of the lure down, and it's going to fall in this direction. The reason why we would do something like this instead of leaving the weight in the middle is what we're trying to imitate. Now this is going to be, this type of descent is going to be an inch bait fish, whereas this more of a pointed down type of descent is going to imitate like a shrimp or a crustacean, mostly a shrimp type of situation. And you can actually cover water a little bit faster that way because it's going to have a faster fall. So when you're skipping it across the bottom, it's going to hit that bottom quicker. So that's just another way that you can use this hook and change the attitude of that lure. So here's another modification that you can do with these hooks to match the situation that you're facing. Say you only got 1/16 ounce and you need a 1/8 ounce, or you've got a 1/16 tied on and you don't want to take the time to have to retie and go through that hassle. All you have to do is just add a little split shot to the back of that, and you've essentially changed it from, this one is a 1/8, it'll go up to 3/16, so you can take your 1/16 and change it to a 1/8. This is a nice little time saver. And then let's say you have, your situation changes and you got to go back to the lighter weight. All you got to do is just grab that pinch weight, pull it off, and you're good to go again. If you do use one of these little split shots though, make sure and take the little tag in right there and face it up towards the lure. That way it's not hanging down and going to snag on any kind of weeds or anything like that. But this is a nice little time saver. So here's another modification that you can do to the Owner Twistlock, and that's by removing the weight altogether. Now this works really good on really picky fish that are in calm, clear water, typically around potholes. That's when I like to throw this. You can cast it past the pothole, reel it up to right at the point of the edge of the pothole, and then just let the lure fall down. And it forces you to fish a little bit slower, and that's sometimes what these picky fish or these highly pressured fish need. And when this falls down, it actually has a little flutter motion when it goes down. It works really good in that situation. It does take a little bit to get that weight off, but it is worth it in the end. This is a great little modification here. So this modification that we're doing here, this is going to be kind of an advanced modification. You're not going to use it that often, but it can be deadly in the certain situations. But let's say you've had this hook for a while. For whatever reason, maybe it's rusted out, the tip of it is bent, it's no longer sharp, and you need to get rid of it. So instead of just chucking out this whole thing, we want to keep this little center pin, this locking screw right here. And all this is it's just twisted on the eye. So all you got to do is just take your pliers here and twist the hook off, twist it off the hook. There we go. All I got to do is just twist it off right here. The hard part is just getting it started. You might need a little pair of pliers to get it done, but it does come off. And once we have that off, what we can do is, I like to take a spinner. This could be, this is what's called a Colorado blade, which is this rounded blade, or it can be the willow leaf, which is the one that you see is more of a pointed blade. And you can actually modify this. Just stick your center pin in there and then twist it on, just the opposite of what you did taking it off. And then now you've got a nice little spinner with a center pin attachment. What we're going to do is we're going to take our jerk shad, we're going to pull that tail off right there. You can cut it off if you want to be fancy, but I'll just pull it off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to insert that in, just like we're going to do with the what we did with the head of the lure. When we were rigging the hook up, we're going to twist that on. And then we're going to get that all the way down in there. There we go. Now check that out. Now you got a little tail spinner. Now I just imagine that right there is going to be deadly on some fish that are in dark, dingy, dirty water, or really sandy, silty water. That works really good. Now, of course, we're going to rig that on, obviously, on Owner Twistlock, but because of that tail spinner, we're probably going to put on something a little bit heavier than we normally would. If we're normally fishing an 1/8 ounce, we'd probably put it on a 1/16 of an ounce, but that is a really cool little setup. You'll probably want to put a little drop of glue right there, a little super glue on there to keep that on there. It does work with these the plastisol style lures, but it probably will hold in a little bit better with your TPE type of plastics like your Z-Man and the Power Prawn Brazilians. That is actually a really cool setup. So this is the last modification that I use for the Owner Twistlock. And as you can tell, there's a lot of different ways that you can rig this, a lot of different ways that you can use this to fit the situation that you're facing. And I really, really like this hook. Now, if there's any type of rigging that you do that I didn't mention, please put them down in the comments below. I'd like to hear from you. And I hope you learned something from this video that's going to help you put some more fish in the boat. As always, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye.